no means are they that easy. But when you look at our speakers coming up here, the past 6 speakers, and you see their passion, or where their passion comes from, and on the other hand you see their dedication, then you start to believe that it is possible. That these problems that seem so difficult in the street kids that we saw earlier, to this very young children in elementary schools, then you really start to believe that not only is it possible to solve these problems, but really that you have some role in making that happen. And that's really what it's about. And that's why I think all these organizations and ESAI is trying to send a message. And we didn't drag you all the way here to just that, but also that you can do it together, that we can do it together. And I think that's the most important thing. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the Ethiopian Student Association International, and I would like to invite Marta Gabriel-Maria to be presenting with us.
Thank you. Hello everyone, salam. My name is Martha and I'm standing here before you representing Ethiopian Students Association International. So as you can tell from the name, this is an international organization, actually a non-profit international organization, which is completely run by Ethiopian students from around the world. Excuse me. Here in this slide, what the green represents is the different Ethiopian student organizations from around the world. Okay, the green represent the Ethiopian student organizations from around the world. So it is from these organizations that our members, that our followers, and that our representatives come from. And basically, so we represent these organizations, and this is just to show how broad we are. Okay. In this presentation, we're going to look at the past accomplishments of ESAI, the past and the present accomplishments of ESAI, and we're also going to look at the different volunteer opportunities that we have for you today. In the past, ESAI has done several events to help Ethiopian students, to bring them together, to improve the lives of Ethiopian students and Ethiopians as a whole. So one of the things that we've done before is a literature contest. In this contest, Ethiopian students in Ethiopia, high school students in Ethiopia, were invited to participate in this contest in topics that range from economic, cultural, social, and different kinds of topics. So a total amount of $1,000 was actually awarded to the students based on their ranks. Okay. Next is leadership. Here in ESAI, we take leadership very seriously. Actually, it's not a term that we say very lightly. So our leaders are expected to be determined, they're expected to be strong, they're expected to be courageous. And the exec team is actually put through a leadership training program. And in this training program, they were taught how to organize their objectives and how to execute their missions efficiently. And they, among other things, they were taught how to be strong leaders. I mean, in ESAI or any kind of organizations that you're into, that you are expected to know the Constitution, you're expected to know what the organization stands for, and different kind of things. And these are the kind of things that they were taught. And of course, we all know the way to failure because that's just the easiest way out. But our leaders are not, we don't have a place for failure in ESAI. The student leaders are expected to overcome the many obstacles that come their way, especially being student leaders. There are going to be many obstacles that are going to come their way, and they're expected to overcome those and represent the many Ethiopian students that depend on them. the Ethio Study Group. The Ethio Study Group was actually a group established by ESAI to provide the historical, economic, cultural, and environmental information about Ethiopia for whoever wanted to use it. So the information would be available for whoever wanted to utilize it. So these were the kind of things that we did just to increase information for the students or any Ethiopians that are willing to go ahead and look at it and learn about their country. Okay, and the annual summit. I'm sure most of you know about the ESAI annual summit. We have it every year. It has been going for quite some time now. 10 years, about 10 years. So what happens in this event is we invite keynote speakers. I mean, the main things is we invite keynote speakers that we get inspired by, speakers that we look up to, like Professor Isaac or different famous Ethiopians. So we invite these keynote speakers to inspire us, to teach us, to educate us about being young students, young educated students coming together to help our country, to help our people. And the summit also has entertaining cultural shows that were put together by the host state. And we also have different kind of beneficial workshops that students can learn from. So the annual summit, I mean, if any of you have never been there before, I encourage you to come check it out when we have it next year. Just come check it out, you will love it. Okay, currently we're involved in collecting books and computers for Bahar Dar University in Ethiopia. Being a college student, I mean, just imagine having to share a book with many other students that are taking the same course. Because being a college student, you're gonna have homeworks, assignments, and God knows how many other activities that you have going in your life. And on top of that, not having a book by yourself, having to share a book, and that is the kind of things our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia are going through. And also imagine, don't mention not having a laptop for yourself, but having to not be able to use the computer labs because you are not a senior, and we're just trying to help with this. These are the kind of things that we're trying to help our Ethiopian brothers and sisters with. Okay, so far I've told you the highlights of the things that we've done and that we are actually involved in currently. So now let's talk about volunteering. I mean, I'm sure I don't have to tell you the benefits of volunteering, but I'll just mention some of them. First is experience. I mean, in whatever kind of field that you're going into as a student, or whatever kind of field that you are planning to go into, they're gonna require you to have some experience. And by being a volunteer with us, you'll be able to develop your leadership skills. You'll be able to develop your personal skills, working together with other people, and all those. And the other thing is networking. Networking is a gateway to enter a supportive system of other individuals with a common interest that are going to help you excel in your professional life. So by being a volunteer with us, you'll be exposed to this tool, and you'll be able to use this tool. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, you're going to be exposed to many organizations and many professionals that are willing to mentor you and that are willing to help you and create opportunities for you. The other thing is resume, of course. Having a well-polished resume is the key to success, or at least it is the key to getting hired. And by mentioning that you've been involved with an international organization, by saying you volunteered or you interned with us, is going to make your resume stand out from the other people that are applying for the same position. So when the recruiter or human resources person or whoever is looking at your resume looks at that, it is going to make yours stand out. So that is something to also consider. And of course, self-satisfaction. I mean, as human beings, it is in our character to would like to help other people. And as Ethiopians, it is our duty to help other people and our country. So by being involved in an organization whose mission is to improve the lives of Ethiopians, to help to bring students together, it will give you the satisfaction of saying, I've helped. And of course, having fun. I mean, working with other students. I mean, if you're a student working with other students, you can just imagine how fun and entertaining it can be. So these are the things to consider, among other things. Okay, so I've explained the benefits of being a volunteer, the benefits and the importance. Now, what opportunities do we have for you? One is we need to get connected with the local ESAs, with the local Ethiopian students associations at the different schools you students are at for the students here. So what you need to do is make sure that we have a full contact information of the Ethiopian Student Association representatives at your school. I mean, for the main importance of this is, let's say you are organizing an event at your specific school, you're organizing a fundraising to help Ethiopia or to help another different organization. So just because you sent us those contacts and we have a strong communication with your school, we'll be able to provide advertisement. I mean, we're a broad organization, international organization, and we have many followers and members that are going to hear about your event because you sent us those contacts and we have strong communication with your school. And so the little event at your school is going to be a big thing, and we might even find other people who are willing to work with you and different things like that. So what you need to do is email us the ESAI representatives, the contact information of the ESAI representatives at exec@esai.org, and so update us with that. And the goal is to get 15 schools by next year. So those are the things that you can do. It's an easy thing. You can go back to your school and get the information, and it's not going to take a lot out of you. And then the other opportunity that we have for you is advertising through our social networks. I mean, if you are the kind of person who likes to go on Facebook or tweet, like updating your Facebook status or uploading videos, YouTube videos, then this is a great opportunity for you because it's exciting, it's something that you like to do. And I'm sure many of students that are here, I'm sure you will love this because these are the kind of things that we like to do. And so we are a big organization and we have pages that need to be frequently updated. So we need you to update our Facebook page or help update our Facebook page or tweeting or YouTubing. And if you are a creative kind of person, actually this is a chance for you to show your creative side and get a little creative with it, and you will advertise ESAI broadly. Okay, so in conclusion, I hope I increase your awareness about ESAI and the things that we've done and the things that we do. And I hope I presented you with opportunities that you can see yourself taking. And in the world that we're living in, there are two different kind of people. There are people who sit down, who don't like to get involved, who don't like giving back, and they are the kind of people who like to interact and be part of the solution. So you just ask yourself, are you the one who just likes to sit down, who is not willing to give an effort to help your country and to help your people, or are you the kind of person who is willing to give a lending hand? So with that, I'm gonna leave you, and I hope just consider the two opportunities that I've presented for you, and sign-up sheets will be running around, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Martha. Excellent. I think we're almost getting to the conclusion of our meeting. I think our final speaker is David, President of the Ethiopian Student Association International. So please welcome him with a standing ovation as the President is coming.
Oh wow! Seriously, guys? That's not the right deal. It's a little awkward.
I never lost faith at the end of the story. I never lost faith at the end of the story. When we sometimes think about Ethiopia, we can't help but notice about the poverty, disease, or lack of education. And it almost seems like these problems are exasperating at an alarming rate. So much to the point that we have coupled problems with Ethiopia. So when we think of problems, we think of Ethiopia. And when we think of Ethiopia, we think of problems. So to imagine our country not being afflicted from poverty, disease, or lack of education, it seems so impossible, improbable. But I never lost faith at the end of the story. I never lost faith at the end of the story. These words were spoken by a man by the name of James Stockdale. And he said these words to a friend of his while they were taking a long walk together. And it was on this walk that he stopped and said, I never lost faith at the end of the story. I never doubted not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end and turn the experience into the defining event of my life, which in retrospect, I would not trade. These are encouraging words. And I believe we have much to learn from Mr. Stockdale. But to truly appreciate the statement that was made and to understand the content at which it was made in, we must first enter into the life of James Stockdale. We must understand about his upbringings and the many struggles he had in life. You see, when James was just a little boy, he loved competition, so much to the point that every single activity had competing in it. So he did it all. He played basketball, football, he ran track, and won the regional piano recital. And he did all this and graduated second from his high school class. But little James grew up and went to college. And after college, he decided to apply to the United States Naval Academy. But right before he got into the academy, he promised his father that he would be the best that he could be. And that's exactly what he did. He flew every single aircraft he could get his hands on. And he impressed everyone. But James yearned for greater challenges. So he decided to apply to the pilot test school program and got accepted. At his new school, he was a standout. All adored him. No one could take their eyes off of him. So he kept moving higher and higher in his rankings. And James was at his highest in his career and professional life. But all that would take a dramatic turn on September 9, 1965. James was ordered on a mission to North Vietnam. And although he had been on similar missions before, this one he would never forget. He got on his plane and he left to North Vietnam. He identified his target and started to approach it, as he's always done before. But suddenly, his enemies started to fire back at Stockdale. Within seconds, his plane was punctured severely. His engine was on fire. All hydraulics was gone. He was forced to eject as fast as possible. And as he did, he broke his back. and he saw his plane crash and explode into a huge fireball. James was in huge trouble. He landed in a small village in North Vietnam. And as he lay there, unable to move from the injury, he could hear his enemies approaching him. And he knew that they would try and defend their honor. And when his enemies reached him, they beat him severely. They beat him physically, mentally, and emotionally. That was just the beginning. Because you see, James Stockdale was now a prisoner of war. And there wouldn't be another 7 years, 7 long years, before he would be released. Soon after the prison, after his capture, they sent him to prison, and for the next 7 years, he would be beat, whipped, suffocated with a rope, chained in heavy abrasive leg irons, left in total darkness, denied medical care, deprived of letters from his family. But through all this torture, his enemies promised him better treatment if he admitted that the United States was engaging in criminal activities against the Vietnamese people. But he refused. Because of his refusal, they beat him even more, and treatments worsened. But he never gave in. He later learned that his fellow prisoners were dying because of torture. And when he learned about this, he slit his own wrist open and showed it to the enemies. And he did this to show that he preferred death over submission. When his enemies finally learned about his determination to die rather than cooperate, they had no other choice but to stop beating him, because it was obviously not working. And he was then soon released from prison in 1973. Upon his release, his extraordinary heroism became widely known across the United States, and he received the Medal of Honor along with other high honorary recognitions. Now, years after his story made public, an author by the name of Jim Collins was writing this book, Good to Great. And he was preparing for a chapter titled, Accept the Brutal Facts. And when he was preparing for this chapter, he had the opportunity to interview James Stockdale. And the author narrates his experience while the two are taking a long walk together. And it was on this walk that James Stockdale stopped and said, I never lost faith at the end of the story. I never doubted not only that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end and turn the experience into the defining event of my life, which in retrospect, I would not trade. The author continues narrating. I didn't say anything for many minutes, and we continued the slow walk toward the faculty club. Stockdale limping and arc swinging his left leg that had never fully recovered from repeated torture. Finally, after about 100 meters of silence, I asked, who didn't make it out? Oh, that's easy, he said. The optimists. The optimists? I don't understand, I said, now completely confused given what he'd said 100 meters earlier. The optimists. Oh, they were the ones that said, we're going out by Christmas, and Christmas would come and go. And then they say, we're going out by Easter, and Easter would come and go. And then Thanksgiving, and then it would be Christmas again. And they died of a broken heart. Another long pause. And more walking. Then he turned to me and said, "This is a very important lesson. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, with which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be." To this day, I carry a mental image of Stockdale admonishing the optimists. "We're not getting out by Christmas. Deal with it." This is an important lesson. We should all remember that James Stockdale and the author are having this conversation in a chapter titled, "Accept the Brutal Facts." Accept the brutal facts. Accept the fact that our country has problems. Accept the brutal facts. Accept the fact that our country is in poverty. Accept the brutal fact. Accept that our people have disease. Accept the brutal fact. Accept the fact that our education is lacking. Accept the brutal facts. But never lose faith. I think it's interesting how James Stockdale is admonishing the optimists. On one hand, he's in the worst possible situation which we could ever imagine of, and he's telling us that he never lost faith. But on the other hand, he's admonishing optimists? Seems a little self-contradictory. I must confess, I was so confused when I first read the chapter, but when I started to read it again and again, I think I started to understand the lesson that James Stockdale was trying to teach us. I think he was saying, accept the brutal facts, but never lose faith. Always believe that things will improve. Always believe that poverty will improve. Education will improve. We will find solutions. But I think that we become optimists if we think any of this is possible without us working together or working hard. If we think any solution is possible without us coming together, then I believe we will also die of a broken heart. But if we're determined, just like James Stockdale was determined, then I believe that we will win. The enemy will lose. We will find solutions. Poverty will improve. We will find cures for diseases, and education will improve. But this is not going to be given down to us. We're going to have to work for it. And that is the concept that this chapter is highlighting. In fact, this is the concept that this entire book is highlighting. When we first open the book, go to the first chapter and read the first sentence. We come along the phrase of, good is the enemy of great. Good is the enemy of great. And that is my fear. I fear that we might just be good. I fear that we are working a good amount to bring change to our country. I fear that we might just be good. But our country demands greatness. Our country needs greatness. We need to be great. Our country demands greatness from all of us. Each child must go to school and get a great education. Greatness. Greatness is demanded from the youth. We must use our great energy and power to bring this great change to our country. Greatness. Greatness is demanded from the parents. You must lead us and show us how we could bring this great change to our country. Greatness is demanded. So we should always remember to be great. We should always remember to bring this great change to our country. And if we do that, then we should never, never lose faith at the end of the story. Thank you.
There you have it. Let's please give David one applause. We're going to take a 5-minute break and come back for a quick discussion. It's going to be about 30 minutes of discussion. So let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back together.